Do you want to sell a course or program and scale out your online business? Well, in this episode, we're going to walk you through the 4 things we focus on to bring our program to $1.2 million in sales in the first 9 months. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. This one is going to be, I feel like I say that every time. I need to figure out a new way to open up these intros. But I'm just so excited. I'm so excited about everything we're talking about. So this one is going to be another great episode, really because we're going to be talking about how we started the Video Forex program, the methodology, the lessons learned. But more specifically, I want to give you guys a higher level view of how we generated $1.2 million in sales off of a course and a program, or kind of like a methodology, in just 9 months. Okay, so if you're anyone who's trying to build out a program, a coaching program, a group coaching program, a course, or even a service, this will be extremely valuable for you. If you're someone who has an offline business and you're looking to get online, this is going to be very valuable for you. If you're someone who has some knowledge or skills that you want to package up and put it into a program or a course or get into online education, this will be an extremely valuable podcast for you. We are going to give you kind of the framework. We are going to give you the steps. We're going to give you all of that good stuff, and we're going to actually give you an opportunity to get onto a free training we're doing to go even deeper into this at the end of this episode, so make sure you stay tuned for that. Now, before we get into how we did this and what we did, I have to be very honest and upfront with you guys. I have to tell you about the history of us getting to this point, because the $1.2 million in sales in just 9 months didn't come from a place of, hey, I'm just going to create a course and oh my God, we fell into $1.2 million in sales. We were able to do this because we had the experience of launching and selling courses. We had the experience and the history of being able to do things, not to this level, but I didn't come into this as a complete newbie or beginner. So to set the levels of expectations of what you guys are going to get is it possible to go from 0 to 20,000, 10,000 with a brand new thing in 9 months? 100%. $100,000 in 9 months? Yeah, I've seen people do it before. Multi-six figures? Yes, I've seen people do multi-six-figure launches. But I will say and be honest, it is kind of a rare occasion where someone's going to hit the 7-figure level in 9 months. However, with that being said, I can do that again. I can start a new program and probably do close to 7 figures in sales in the first 9 months. Why? Because I did it. Why? Because I put in the work. Why? Because I have the experience. And most importantly, because I have the knowing of how to do that. Remember, there's a difference between knowledge and knowing. You guys can take all the courses, read all the books on how to ride a bike. You won't know how to ride a bike until you do it. So with that said, I'm going to give you a little bit of the history of why we got to the point of needing to make this shift into the Video Forex. And there's going to be a very important lesson here that you have to learn in order to scale out your course, your service, or your program. So the history is this. I got started in the online space probably 6 to 8 years ago. I don't know the exact moment, but I was kind of fumbling around. I was trying to build an audience online. I was teaching a lot of YouTube stuff. This is when Sold with Video was actually a thing. So I was just hopping around trying a bunch of stuff. And you might be in that spot too. So if you're someone who is just starting out, you might be fumbling around. You might be throwing spaghetti against the wall. You might be trying to start a service. The thing is looking back at where I was then and where I am today is I didn't realize this at the time, but I was really stuck in, I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I have to figure out what the offer is. I have to figure out what the product is. I have to figure everything out. What I do today has nothing to do with what I was selling back then. Sold with Video started with selling real estate videos to real estate agents. I don't sell anything to real estate agents anymore specifically. Like there may be real estate agents that buy Video Forex, but I'm not actively seeking out real estate agents. We're not selling listing videos anymore. Then we moved into YouTube SEO. We're not selling YouTube SEO or any of that stuff anymore. So the idea here is, and when we launched the Video 4X effect, it really came from a place of I don't fully actually know what this thing is, but I know I'm going to figure out along the way. In fact, when we did this is almost 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, what the Video 4X was then, nothing to do with what it is today. Well, that's too aggressive. It is not the same thing of what it was then of what it is today. When we launched it back then, it was basically under this umbrella, or had its promise that it's going to teach you how to incorporate video into your business. And what it's evolved to is really being more of a messaging program. And that only came from actually going out there and doing it. So to give that history, I basically was selling these real estate videos. I got into YouTube SEO, which led me to meeting James Wedmore. So James Wedmore and I were pretty much the only ones at the time selling YouTube-based products, which, by the way, neither one of us sell anymore. Just to kind of give you guys a clue here that things will evolve, and just getting started is the best thing you can do. But from that moment, I was making most of my money off of selling YouTube SEO and selling YouTube marketing to local business owners. And I had a course on it too, but it wasn't great. Like we were, I don't know, maybe making a couple $1,000s a year or something like that. And I met James. Well, James and I partnered because he was teaching YouTube SEO, but he wasn't doing it as a service. I was doing it as a service, and he was getting a lot of questions of like, great, James, this is awesome, but how do I package this up and sell it? And he didn't know. So him and I partnered up on selling what we program called Local Video Academy. Now I look back at Local Video Academy, and it was like probably one of the most, I feel like I have a lot of pivotal moments in my business, but this was definitely one of them. And the reason why is I got to learn firsthand of how to actually launch a product and a program and how to put it together. And so James' responsibility in this partnership was to basically market and sell it. My responsibility was to create the program and work with the students. And so we went and we launched this thing. And it was great. And it did probably over the lifetime of it probably did close to, $2 or $3 million in sales, something along those lines over the course of a couple of years. Now, what happened was we got to a point where James didn't want to do the program anymore, so I kind of took it over. But my passion was really fading away from it. So I really stepped into this YouTube SEO and teaching a lot of that stuff. And I had a couple different partnerships going on at the time. But I found myself in a place at the end of 2017, not liking what I was doing. Not liking teaching the SEO, not liking relying on partners for revenue. I was working all the time. I didn't have a team built out. But we had done $500,000 in revenue. So this was the moment where I spent the next 3 months getting silent, sitting in my office, trying to figure out what I was going to do. I put myself into debt over this, and all of a sudden it hit me. It's the Video 4X effect. People have a massive problem with getting basically video incorporated into their business. Either they don't know how to streamline it, they think they just have to hire an editor, but then the editor doesn't know marketing. So from a business standpoint, the Video 4X was born out of this idea of teaching people from a marketing standpoint, how do we incorporate video into your business so that the videos are effective, number one, the messaging is on point, you have a strategy that's actually growing the business, takes the offer into consideration, and what are the workflows to streamline this entire thing? So we went ahead and we launched it. But the reason why I gave you the context of the history of the story is because we didn't launch this with just out of the gate, like I said in the beginning. We had the experience, I had the know-how, I had the knowing of kind of how to launch things. I hired Taylor right around the same moment, and Taylor and I just kind of put our heads down and we launched this thing. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because you guys have to understand the first lesson that I want to talk to you about of how to generate $1.2 million in sales is that we don't just go into a launch. You see, the thing that most people do is they think, hey, I'm just going to go and create a course and it's going to be awesome because now I'm making money while I sleep. Now I have this course. I can go surfing all day or do whatever I want all day. And this thing's on autopilot, just spitting out dollars. And it doesn't quite work like that. You know, if you own a local business, you can just open up shop in a popular shopping center, granted, if your business is one that needs walk-in business, and you could technically make sales on the very first day of opening up your business. You can't do that with an online business. I think there's a big misconception out there that online business and course creation is easy. I just have to put a website up online. I just have to create a course and it's going to sell itself. It doesn't work like that. This isn't a local business where you can just plug down into a high traffic zone and all of a sudden have customers. You can do that with a local or physical business. You can't do that with an online business. You can't just put a website up and expect sales to happen. And not only can you just not expect to put a website up, but the website, even if it does get traffic, then you have to convert the traffic. Whereas if you put a coffee shop in the middle of a popular shopping center, they walk right in. You don't have to convert them. They're walking in because they want coffee. You just plug yourself down in front of people that already want what you have. It's a much easier process. So one thing that you have to realize if you're going to do $1.2 million in sales is launching is not the place to start. We don't start with a launch. However, that's what most people do. What we want to do, and I'll kind of talk about how people do this. What people do is they will generally think it's easy and they don't realize they have to generate their own traffic and then they have to convert their own traffic. In some regards, I actually think online business might be harder as far as generating traffic and customers than it is a local business. What most people do is they just, I'm going to launch this thing. I see this person doing a 6-figure launch, this person doing a $50,000 launch, this person doing whatever. And they get these crazy expectations. And then they go and they do the launch and then it flops or doesn't do what they expected. And then they say it failed, it didn't produce, it didn't whatever. And then that puts them in a really bad spot mentally. Again, we talk about the belief box. They start creating all these different beliefs. They start thinking, oh, webinars don't work. My product's not good. I'm not good. When in fact, it's not that you're not good. The product's not good. The offer's not good. It's just you were trying to do step 4 when you should have been doing step 1. And so when we work backwards, people go, great, I'm going to launch. And that doesn't work. They go, well, why didn't it work? Oh, well, I don't really have an audience. Okay, I'm going to put out content. And then their content's not really working. And they go, oh my God, okay, well, my content's not really working. I need to get messaging. I'm going to listen to Brandon and figure out messaging. And they go, oh, I can't really figure out messaging because I have a lot of fears and I don't really know what I want to do. And then they start working on their mindset. When in fact, we have to go the other way. When you guys want to do $1.2 million in sales, you have to have the mind in order first. You have to have the expectations in order first. You have to have the knowing a little bit in order first. So the reason why I tell the history of $1.2 million is because through the history of what I had, launching with James, doing my own launches, selling products, selling things, my mind had already been worked on. I'd already been doing personal development. I had already been launching things. How the mindset about how to spend the money, how to run the ads, the mindset around hiring Taylor when even though it didn't logically make sense financially to do it. A lot of this stuff was already there. I had started with the mind. And so one of the things that you guys have to focus on is when you're going to go launch your product, whether you want to do $20,000 the first 9 months, $100,000, you need to get the mind in order. One of the reasons why I did $1.2 million in the first 9 months is because I was being the $1 million business owner. And we talk about Jim Fortin's model that he talks about, which is be, do, have, and have, do, be. If you want to have $1 million business, you need to be the $1 million business owner now, which means you start doing the things that a $1 million business owner does, which then allows you to have the $1 million business. So if you guys are going to go into this whole, I guess any business, but this course creation business, you better have your mind in order first. You better be using the be, do, have model. You need to understand what you're going after first and have your mind in place. Once you're there, then we can start to look at, okay, what's the messaging going to be around this? One of the reasons why we did $1.2 million in sales is because I know messaging. I know how to properly communicate this to the audience so that it creates demand. Again, that comes from the history, that comes from the experience. I focused on messaging before we ever launched anything. The messaging was the second thing that we focused on. Now, I'll go deeper into how to create messaging and things like that in the free training that we're going to give you guys at the end of this episode. But your messaging has to be dialed in. So one of the things that we did is we focus on industry norms. What are the beliefs in our space? What are the things that people think are true around the product that aren't really true. So, the video 4X effect at the time was really about how to implement video into your business from a marketing standpoint. I knew one of the norms that people thought and did was I just need to hire a video editor or videographer, and that's going to fix the video content issue in my business. But all it did was it started creating more headaches for people, because now you have a videographer who doesn't know marketing, doesn't understand content, is not going to help you script the videos. You put more of a chore on yourself now that you're going to use video. And I knew that at the time. I knew that these 7-figure, 6-figure business owners just wanted to start using video because it was quote unquote hot at the time, and it still is. But they would just hire a videographer, but then they open up this whole can of worms of now they put the responsibility of what content to create, how to script it, how to deploy it, all of that stuff on their shoulders. So they're adding more responsibility to themselves as the business owner, and it actually bottlenecked them. So we recognized that, and I'm like, great, this is what the Video 4X program is going to solve for people. So we started doing thought reversal videos and getting messaging around that industry norm. And we started hitting people with this message and message and message. What I was doing was preparing people and warming people up to this thing that we were going to launch through content. And most people mess up their content. They just start doing random keywords and things on surveys and I just need to build an audience and then people will buy. No, you need to build an audience that is going to want what you're going to sell. You need to create demand through your messaging and your content. That's why it's step number 2. And our biggest launch, we launched the Video 4X. Our biggest launch to date was in March, end of February, early March. We did just about $900,000 in revenue. And people go, oh my God, it's amazing. But they don't know that launch that was in March actually started in December for us. We were running content. We were working on our messaging. We were building audiences. We had pre-launch training set up, like free training people could opt in for. We were preparing them for the big launch. We mapped out a 3-month runway up to the release of the program. And a lot of failing entrepreneurs and people that try to launch a product, they actually start at the launch. They go, the launch is where the money's made. The money's not made in the launch. That's why you're failing. That's why your launches aren't great. You're not preparing or creating demand for people to want what you're about to sell them. This is just like a movie launch. Look at it as a movie launch. When a movie launches, they don't release it and say, hey, everybody, this is released, like go buy it. No, they're running previews for months beforehand. They have a release date of when it's going to be released. They're creating demand. A course is going to be a very similar process if you want to launch it. So we have to focus on the messaging. And then once the messaging is in place, then you can focus on the content. Start putting out the content, start building the audience. And inside the training, we'll talk a little bit more and go deeper on the content side of it. Like, what do we do? Do we run Facebook ads? Do we do this? Do we do that? Do we go organic? There's a lot of different ways you can do it. So when we start focusing on the content, we start to create demand. Now, Caitlin Batcher was one of the first ones who signed up for our service. She was either the first or the second one of them. I can't really remember. Of the new version of our service. So we had a service for a while, and then we altered it to be the Video 4X effect. And I believe Caitlin was one of the first ones. And I remember getting on the call with her, and I asked her, like, okay, why did you sign up with us? And she said, because the videos that you talked about were specifically describing the exact problem that I'm having inside my business. I'm the bottleneck for my content. We wanted to start doing video and putting out more content, but now I realized I added all of this extra burden on myself and responsibility that it started to stress us out. And you actually understand this. You do the video, you understand the marketing, you just nailed the problem. And that's what you guys need to start looking at. It's not as if you're like a yoga studio and you just want to put yoga classes online, you're just like, get my yoga classes online. You better start rethinking your strategy. What's the big actual real problem that you specifically are going to solve for people? For us with the Video 4X effect, what it's evolved to is now it's like people put out a ton of how-to content and they get stuck. We fix that problem. It's a very specific problem. So we don't want generalized problems. We don't want content talking about generalized problems. But once you start doing that, once you have the mind, you're a very powerful business owner. You understand the messaging. You start putting the messaging into content. You start building an audience. Now start preparing them for the launch. Your content should be agitating these problems, giving mini solutions to these problems, creating demand for it, and then you can go and bring those people who are consuming the content into the launch. And it's the same thing with an evergreen funnel. You're like, Brandon, I don't want to launch. I just want to do evergreen. It's the same thing. We don't want to just send cold traffic people right to a sales page and be like, cool, never heard of me before. I have no history. I have no whatever. Go buy this thing. You have to understand the messaging behind it. And so those are the things that we did. So what we did is when we launched this thing, we started putting out the content. We started talking about those problems that I just described to you. We personally just used Facebook ads to like through play campaigns to get really cheap views and exposure on the videos. We ran our email list into it. And we ended up building an audience and then running ads to them. And we sold 2 things or 3 things. I'm trying to remember how we did this. So I don't recommend this, but we sold 3 things. Let me rephrase. We sold 1 thing on 3 levels. We sold the Video Forex Effect, but we released it as a course program, just like an online program. We sold that as a group coaching program and then as a service. Okay, so I don't recommend doing all of them at one time. However, what we did is we focused all of our efforts onto one thing, the Video Forex methodology. And that's one of the mistakes, again, that if you want to scale out to 1.2 million in 9 months or whatever your number is, you're going to have to focus on one thing. Instead of spreading your efforts in, like 50% of your effort in one thing and 50% in the other thing, you put 100% into one thing. And if you want to sell on multiple levels, that's fine too. But you have to focus on that one thing, master that one thing. So what we did is we focused on that one thing, which is the Video Forex Effect. I did not want to wait around to create this thing in order to sell it. So you guys can actually, and some of you may know this already, but you can actually sell whatever it is that you're going to sell before it's actually created. And I highly recommend that you do that. Now, there's 2 ways to do this. There's one way internally with my audience and my students, we call it the Jenna launch. It's from Jenna Sword, but it's not called the Jenna launch. You guys can go to her website and check it out. But what she does is she will actually put ads out that say, hey, come be a part of my free beta course I'm doing. It's completely free. You're going to get X, Y, and Z out of this. And all I ask for in exchange is just a testimonial. So she'll go and she'll do this and create the program over 3 weeks with the students. And she does a light version of the program. And then at the end of it, she goes, great, thank you so much for your testimonials, your feedbacks. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Here's the promise. Hey, we're going to redo this course and we're going to make it bigger and better based off of your feedback. If you guys want that version, here's a discounted link, go buy it. So now what she's doing is she is developing the product, number 1, getting a huge amount of testimonials, number 2, and then making money, number 3. And that's a great way to make it or sell it before you make it. What we did at the time is we actually went and did an offer. So we went and did a webinar to my current audience and people consuming the videos. And we just said, here you go. Here's what we have. It's the Video Forex Effect. You guys can buy the course. You guys can get into the mentorship program, or you guys can apply to work with us. So we ended up having people at all different levels. Like if people had a 6-figure business or a 7-figure business, they generally applied to work with us. And then when we got on the call, what we did is if they weren't right for the service, we sold them over the phone into our group coaching program. And then if people just attended the webinar and they didn't want to apply to work with us, they just bought the $1,000 course. So I don't remember the exact numbers, but after putting the content together, after doing all of that stuff, Taylor and I basically, I believe, sold right around $30,000 worth of the Video Forex course. We signed up, I believe, 3 people into the service, ranging from $5,000 to $10,000 a month. And then we also sold 7 people into the group coaching program at around $10,000 a piece, like $9,000 to $10,000. So we did really well with it, and we did really well really quick. But the idea here is if you guys want to scale something out, you have to be okay with launching it and not knowing exactly what it's going to be. I didn't fully understand what the Video Forex is. I didn't know our processes. I didn't know our frameworks. I didn't know that. I just knew what the pillars were and I knew kind of what it was. But we developed it by delivering weekly videos and content to the students. So what the course was basically 10 weeks worth of training. Once a week, you get a Facebook group, and then you get all future versions of the course. So we actually went and we understood that in order to grow this thing out, I can't wait around till it was perfect in my head. I couldn't wait around till it felt right. I couldn't wait around till I fully understood what the offer was. I didn't let this misconception of I need to have everything in order. No one's going to buy unless like everything is figured out. People will buy if you do a great job communicating how you're going to solve their problems, what that unique angle is. You have to understand that unique angle. Our unique angle was the way you're going about video and going to go about video, no matter what level you're at, is going to cause more headaches in your life if you don't have this process. And we were the only one teaching it, so it did really, really well. So what we did is once we understood that angle, we started to prep for it. We launched it in those 3 levels, and we started to fulfill. Now, what we did after that phase is we started to build out the program, bring in the structure, bring in the frameworks, work with the students on it. And the students know. We give all of our students a discount to this version of the program because we know, hey guys, we have to develop this. We want to develop with you. We're going to give you a discount, but you're also going to get all future versions of the Video 4X. So we literally have people who bought the program in beta who are still going through the program every time that we adjust it and we change it. So what happened after those 10 weeks is we started to work with the students on both the group coaching program and the service. And what the group coaching program was, the whole thing around it was we're going to work with your team to get video implemented in your business. So that way you have a creative director inside of your company. That's what the Video 4X started out as. That's what our group coaching program started out as, is let us develop a creative director for you. So you as the entrepreneur, you're told what you need to do. You just walk into your office and you're told what you need to do by your team and they create everything for you. And we're going to train them on that. And what it is now is the $1 Million Mentorship Program. It's a year-long program where we actually work with the entrepreneur on their messaging. So it's completely different, but it's still an evolvement. And so that only happened because we built it, we sold it, we adjusted, and we kept evolving what it was. Now, one of the things that I've learned over this period, and I think it's going to be vital for you guys if you're going to scale out a business, is I've learned to really love the journey of this. I've learned to understand it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to be fully mapped out in my head. I don't need to know what it is in order to add value into someone's life. I just need to go and do it. I need to understand there's going to be downs, there's going to be ups, and I've learned to love the journey more than actually getting to the destination. I can tell you guys right now, when I building this out for 6 to 7 months with Taylor, some of the best 6 to 7 months of my entrepreneurial journey. You never know you're in the good times until you're not in the good times anymore, and you're like, those were the good times. Those were the good old days. Total startup, we're in here, we're ordering blackboards and putting blackboards up. We started eventually hiring a team and putting this all together. And we're literally building this thing from scratch. And what you're going to have to do is you really want to scale 1.2 million in 9 months is that you have to understand there's going to be downs, but you're going to have to love the downs. Because if you let the downs keep you there and you don't love it and you're not grateful for them, you're going to get stuck there and you're never going to evolve to 1.2 or whatever it is that you want to do. I've learned to love the journey, and one of the reasons why is because every single down has given me a lesson that has allowed me to scale to 1.2. I keep saying 1.2, but it allowed me to scale to that level. Every single down left me with a beautiful lesson that allowed for extreme growth, that gave me the gift of knowing to evolve and to grow this thing. And I've also learned that getting to the destination isn't really always that fulfilling. I wanted to be a $1 million business. We hit $1 million and it was cool. And you have this moment of gratification for maybe a day. And you're like, okay, great. What's next? And you move on. So why would you want to let your happiness or your fulfillment be dependent on this moment that may last a day? I actually changed my happiness and my focus and my gratefulness on the journey. It's fun. It's like a game. It's exciting. I've learned to love the journey more than getting to the destination because I'm living my life in the journey 99% more than actually living in the destination. And I think that's a massive moment. And this goes back to the mindset issue. This is where we start. One of the reasons why we were able to build out a 7-figure course in just 9 months is because of that mind. It's because of the thinking. It's because of loving the journey, loving the downs, loving the quote unquote failures, even though failure is just a perception. Not everyone has the same idea of what failure actually is. And so if you guys want to start to launch a product, you can't and grow an online program, grow an online course, or even a service. And we did all three at the same time. I would pick one. I wouldn't do all three. It's because of those things that we did. We focus on the mind, which means that I put in the work for, a few years of understanding all of this stuff. Again, you don't have to wait a few years, but you definitely should get your mind in the right place before you do this. Get an alignment of who you are, what this is, who you want to serve, which is going to allow you to then figure out your messaging, then put out content. Then you need to build the momentum with your content, and then you can get ready for the launch. And most people have this backwards. So this was the journey that we used to scale out the Video 4X. And so where the Video 4X is now is we have a run rate or on pace to do about 2 million, maybe 3 million this year. We have like cool mugs. If you're watching the video, you can see it right here. We have like cool mugs. We have, which obviously is just mugs, kind of stupid, but it's the idea of just like something that I created from scratch 2 years ago. Like we have swag. We have people that wear our shirts now. We have people that call themselves 4Xers. We have events now. We have an audience that believes in our message just as much as we do. And you have to understand, if you want to scale something out, you have to have a message or something that's deeper than just the product. You have to have something that people believe in just as much as you do, something that people will stand with you on. So someone I know, Robin Long, has a Pilates program online, and probably one of the biggest Pilates programs online. But people aren't enrolling to her program because they want to learn Pilates. They're enrolling into her program because they want to learn Pilates from Robin. And I think a lot of people get this idea of, I'm just going to put a course online. I'm going to let it just bring me sales, and I'm going to go relax and enjoy life. No, look, this course industry, this program industry, and even the service industry, or even the gig economy, it's growing, and it's growing fast. And that's why this podcast exists, because our kids have opportunities to do this. They're going to have opportunities to start doing, putting out courses. The online education is one of the fastest growing platforms or industries out there. I believe that even the way college is going to go is going to rely on experts like us to come in and teach courses. I think colleges might have to license out courses in the future to keep up to date with their, with what's going on in the market. And what that means is that their competition is going to be more intense and more fierce, and there's going to be more and more people coming in and developing their own courses and their own programs, which means this idea that you can just put up a yoga program and then sit on autopilot and collect a paycheck, it's going to go out the window, because there's going to be 1,000 people with 1,000 different yoga programs. What you have to realize is, if you want to scale something out like this, people aren't going to buy yoga because it's yoga. They're going to buy yoga because it's being taught by you. People don't buy Video 4X Effect because it's a messaging program. They're buying it because I'm the one teaching them messaging. I'm the one who has the unique philosophy that they've never heard before. So you have to understand, this isn't a set and a forget thing. And I think a lot of people get into that world. So again, just to recap, most people will go launch, then they focus on content, then they realize their content's all jacked up, so then they focus on messaging, and then their messaging's not in alignment or all jacked up because they have issues in their mind. So if we start with the mind first, then we focus on the messaging, then we go to the content, then we figure out the angle that we want to use in the content that's going to position our product that people, so they want it, we create demand, then we launch. It's a much better way to go and launch. And you want to launch it before it's actually created. You want to launch it before you fully have it in your head. You will figure it out along the way. That's how we run our business. That's how most successful people will launch their stuff. They have to go and do it, and they figure it out along the way. So with that said, what I want to do is I want to invite you guys into a special training that we're doing called How We Did $1.2 Million in 9 months. Today, we gave you the high level basically idea, bird's eye view of what's going on, how to kind of fix a lot of mistakes that you might run into. What I want to do is get a little more granular on what we actually did. So we'll walk you through how the messaging actually was developed, what type of content were we using, and how did we actually position the offer. So one of the things, again, I'll leave you guys with one last tip here, is that you want to focus on a very special type of offer, meaning that you're not selling the modules and you're not selling the programs. You have to find a unique way to position it. And one of the things that James Wedmore talks about, an example he uses is the Thigh Master. That was a product before Suzanne Summers came in and sold it. It was a product that was failing, but Suzanne Summers came in, they renamed it the Thigh Master. They had a different approach of how to sell it. And then they had Suzanne Summers as the spokesperson, and it sold hundreds of millions of dollars worth. Same product, different offer. Same product, different offer. So there's a difference. We'll talk more about that on this free training. So what I want you guys to do to go to that free training is you can go to brandonlucero.com/training. So brandonlucero.com/training. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link will be underneath. If you're on our website, the link will be in the show notes, but it's brandonlucero.com/training. And we're going to walk you through the exact process and a little bit more of a granular framework of what you need to do at each one of those levels: the mindset, the messaging, the content, and the launch. So go do that now. And if you enjoyed this podcast, go ahead, head over to iTunes, leave us a review. The more reviews we get, the more traction we get, the more content we can put out for you guys. So I would absolutely love it. And if you have not yet done it, you can always join us in the New Generation Entrepreneur Facebook group and share your biggest breakthrough. So go do that now, and I'll see you guys on another episode. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested, and thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.